obviously the Grand Finals went poorly, right? So I think it changes maybe the way people perceive our team. But the results on 1 or 2 days doesn't change the way I perceive our team. I actually think we're a threat at this tournament. I think we'll be one of the strongest Western teams and one of the stronger teams in the tournament overall.
We are 1 day before the start of MSI 2025, and I'm in the presence of Dylan Falco, the head coach of G2, before an important match, let's say still. I mean, you have to not underestimate any teams, right? But Dylan, first of all, it's good to see you again.
Yeah.
How has it been arriving in Canada? I believe you arrived earlier this week, right? So have the prep been going well? Are you happy to be back in your home country as well? Even though, obviously, I mean, you're not from Vancouver, right? But still.
Yeah, so I've actually never been to Vancouver, although I am Canadian. So it's been pretty cool to come here and see the city. Does still feel a bit like home. So things have been going great with the team. We practiced in Europe last week quite a bit, and we've been ramping up our practice here as well. So we're ready.
Mm-hmm. And I was talking to a few other people as well. Obviously, right now, only the play-in teams have arrived right at the event, so you are here a bit early if you want to face off against the Genjis, the T1 and everything as well. Have you been able to get some good scrim quality as well since then? I can imagine you were scrimming against European teams as well before coming, right?
Yeah, so the scrim availability in Europe, to be honest, was not the greatest, but we made do. We played some pickup teams. We played some ERL teams as well. Mm-hmm. Here, a lot of the LCS teams are scrimming, and obviously the playing teams as well. So we've had no shortage of teams to scrim. So it's been pretty good.
Yeah, fair enough. And obviously, I know for G2, there is probably a desire to prove yourself a bit. I know I was talking a bit with some of the players quickly, and I hear there's still a bit of frustrations after the LEC finals, how it ended, and in a way it's a good thing because it motivates them to work even harder, right? In a way. So how do you feel about the current state of G2 and the drive that you guys have as well to perform at MSI in general?
I feel like on our best days we are an incredibly strong team. I think much stronger than maybe we would be rated. I think we entered both Grand Finals in Europe through the winner side of the bracket with pretty dominant performances, but obviously the Grand Finals went poorly, right? So I think it changes maybe the way people perceive our team, but the results on 1 or 2 days doesn't change the way I perceive our team. I actually think we're a threat at this tournament. I think we'll be one of the strongest Western teams and one of the stronger teams in the tournament overall.
That's really interesting as well because obviously I can imagine you don't necessarily look at Twitter and the opinions of all the streamers and everything in general, but I can tell you that a lot of people right now are doom posting about Europe a lot, and it's funny because in the last few months we've heard about the narrative of how we have 4 top teams in the LEC that keep pushing each other, right, and stuff, but it feels like the moment that K-Corp and Fnatic, for example, got eliminated, a lot of people were kind of did a 180, and now people seem to think that Europe is not doing so well, and they're not a region to look forward to at MSI in general. What is your feels rather about the overall level of the region right now?
I think if people think Europe is a weaker region because Fnatic bombs out in playoffs, I think that's probably not going to do them well given the past few years. So I don't read too much into that.
Yeah, fair. But do you feel like both yourself and MKOI have a good shot as well? I mean, obviously, I know you will be confident about yourself, but what do you think about MKOI as well? Do you feel like maybe they overperformed in playoffs, or do you think they are actually at this level and are able to compete against especially the Asian teams and everything?
I think the one thing I noticed from even playing internationally a bit here already is I think the European teams have a very good grasp on Fearless. I think a team like KOI is very scrappy in the draft phase, especially in the later games. Mm-hmm. And I think that's definitely an area where we can have a pretty big advantage, and I think that's something that they do very well.
Yeah. And speaking about Fearless, obviously this tournament, it's a very exciting format because every single match is best of 5 and every single match is Fearless obviously as well. So it is very different from anything we've seen before. Obviously the bracket is kind of the same as last year, but it is still a different matter because obviously a lot of the settings around the game changed. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the overall structure of this event as well? What it means in terms of how you prepare and everything, the pace of the tournament in general? Do you feel like this is something different from what you've experienced before as well?
So we played this format a couple times with the many best of 5s. I think this is our first time playing it in which play-ins is also full best of 5s. Mm-hmm. So if we make it through play-ins, right, we're going to be playing so many series. And I think that's just exciting. That's great. As a coach, these fearless best of fives is very involved. The decisions you make is not just repeating practiced structures that you have pre-prepared. You have to be very dynamic, you have to be very smart, and you can have a big impact on the way series go. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah. Is it easier as well to prepare when you have like more like targeted opponents instead of like, for example, having a group stage and everything?
Yeah, like for example in LEC playoffs we had 2 weeks not playing on stage and not knowing who we played. That is difficult. It can be difficult to prepare. Here we know our opponent, which helps us a little bit more in a way. I think that's something we've always been very good at doing.
Yeah. And how do you feel about, obviously I have to ask you about where you're starting, right? You're starting in the play-in right now.
Yeah.
I think the main team that everyone is looking towards is BLG, obviously, because they are the LPL representatives and everything. But you are facing FURIA, right? First, I believe, right? Yeah. So you have to focus on that first, and potentially facing against GAM later on as well, depending on how it goes in general. What do you think about the overall level of the play, and do you think it should be smooth sailing for G2 as well? I
think we've looked at all 3 teams. I think this play-ins will be quite competitive. I think obviously BLG has been a very outstanding team internationally for the past few years, so I have to imagine a lot of people will put them as a favorite to make it through. But there's also a different BLG and a different G2 than the ones that played in the past few years, and I feel like we always played them very close. Yeah. So I'm hopeful. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. And about FURIA as well, I mean, I know obviously everyone talk about them as the on paper weakest team of the tournament and in general, but I know you guys have been through so many international, you know very well not to underestimate opponents in general as well, right? So how are you prepared for that match?
I think FURIA is one of the most interesting teams Brazil has sent for a long time. A lot of young talent. As something personally I love to see from a region like Brazil is just not sending the same people who I guess haven't performed internationally. They have young, really talented players. So no, we're not taking this match lightly. We've done a lot of scouting, a lot of work, and I think we're favorites, but I think they can definitely be a strong team.
Yeah, and I can sense obviously, I mean, it's G2, right? So you guys will always have that motivation to do well internationally and try to go as far as you can possibly go as well. What do you think about the overall level of the tournament as well? The teams coming for both Korea, China, or even North America as well, right? Like FlyQuest is a team that a lot of people are looking towards as a pretty strong opponent. Do you think that G2 can make it far into this tournament?
Yeah, of course. I think we can make it quite far. I think we've always performed well at. We performed very well last year at MSI, and I'm kind of expecting the same. I think we're still aiming for like a top 4, top 3 finish. That would be great for us, and yeah, I think we can do it.
Yeah. What do you think is the main difference between this G2 in 2025 compared to the G2 of 2024 that was doing the same thing at MSI as well?
I think last year's G2 we were a bit more explosive, a bit more aggressive, a bit more uncontrolled. I think we blundered games a lot more than we blunder games now. I think we've really adapted a more controlled and disciplined play style this year, which is very good, and hope to use that to kind of win this year.
Fair enough. And obviously after MSI, I still have to ask you about the other event that you're going to be flying to, right? There's EWC, and a lot of people are wondering as well about the overall format of the event, because it's going to be the same participants with 2 other teams, obviously, and it's a format that is also pretty similar to MSI, except the fact that there's a lot of best of 1s, best of 3s, right? So it's not like as developed as like a full best of 5 bracket. What do you feel about having to do both events back to back? A lot of people have talked about how they kind of devalorize each other in a way, because it feels like it removes a bit of that special aspect to MSI, for example, or for EWC. What do you think?
So at least format-wise, I don't know the exact format. I assume
it's like best of 1 group stage and then best of 3 and only finals best of 5.
Okay. Yeah, so I assume that's going to make it a bit more crazy. Teams are going to travel across basically the whole world to go play in best of 1s and single elimination. So, but for us, like any opportunity to perform internationally and to play against the strong teams all across the world, we take those, and we're very excited to play both events. And if there was a 3rd or 4th international tournament back to back right after, we would fly to those and play as well. So, all good with me.
Yeah, I mean, are we seeing enough international events with like those 4 in the year? Obviously, first time like MSI, obviously, and Worlds. Would you even want more at this point?
Like I would want to perform internationally all the time, but I think this format's quite good. I think they've done a really good job this year, increasing the amount of international events, having the split in Europe to feed into it. I think it's great. I think it's good.
Yeah, fair enough. And you are now going to be facing off, obviously, against quite some important teams. But something that I found very funny as well about this event is that you will have, or rather, LEC will have more representatives from Canada as well than the LTA has this year as well. Is this something as well that you're conscious of, and is it funny to you as well in a way that like the LEC is kind of the Canadian representatives this year?
Yeah, when Koi beat actually K-Corp I almost tweeted that we're sending more Canadians than NA is, but I don't know, the finals hadn't resolved for either region yet, so I didn't want to throw that one out there, but I like it. It's been a long time since I've managed to compete in my home country, and it's the first time I've managed to do it in a international event, so it's a very big deal to me, and I'm very happy.
We have to close out, but is there anything you would like to tell the G2 fans that are watching this before we finish?
Yeah, just thanks for supporting us. We're confident going into this tournament, and we're very excited to perform internationally, and I hope you guys can cheer us on.
Perfect. Well, Dylan, thank you so much for talking with us today. As a Canadian myself, I will be rooting for you, and obviously I'm also French, so I'm double rooting for you because EMEA, right? Yeah. So yeah, I wish you the best of luck. Good practice as well in the next few days. I can imagine it's a very extreme schedule, having to work all the time. So yeah, good luck with all that, and hopefully we get to talk to you again soon.
Great, thank you so much.